SquareX helps organizations detect, mitigate, and threat hunt web attacks happening against their users in real time. With its innovative browser-native security product, SquareX safeguards enterprise users from a spectrum of web-based threats, encompassing malicious files, websites, scripts, and compromised networks. Learn more at sqrx.com. AppDome protects the global mobile app economy. Build 300-plus defenses into your mobile apps in minutes with the world's only lifecycle mobile app defense platform. Anti-fraud, anti-BOT, anti-tampering, anti-social engineering. Top mobile brands trust AppDome. Learn more at appdome.com. At Level Blue, we simplify securing your most valuable business assets by providing broad cybersecurity experience and award-winning services. Level Blue manages the risk. You reap the reward. Learn more at levelblue.com.
All right, we're going. Let's just stare at each other.
It's fine. Could be worse.
Like we don't know what we're doing in our job.
One of us does. I'm not going to tell you who.
I don't know. Well, somebody will figure it out. Let us know.
Hey, if it gets views, what's the matter?
That's right.
Look at this podcast. These guys just stared at each other for 45 minutes.
45 minutes of staring. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Want me to say something?
In all seriousness.
Hi, I'm Michael Piacente. Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah.
In all seriousness.
You want?
Here we go. I'm messing with you.
I know you are.
I know you are.
I know you. That's good.
You're messing with me.
I'm messing with you.
I know.
That's
You're
great.
Just standing there staring at me.
That's great. Let's talk about some Field CISOs.
So we're here in Las Vegas, Hacker Summer Camp. Michael, it's great to see you. When did New York, I think, is the last time.
Last time we saw each other,
yeah.
We gave you a hug somewhere in some hotel.
Some hotel. That
yeah.
didn't sound very
we
good.
took a picture in front of the Christmas tree.
That's right. No, it was like it was Valentine's Day.
That was a Valentine's Day. Even better.
That's right. just to go with the
and then you posted it, and I got a lot of questions, and right. It was all good.
It was a good time. It was a good time.
Yes.
We won't say any more than that.
It's all good.
We'll just leave it.
Yeah.
We'll just stare at each other.
No one's business.
That's right. No, but there was an event that evening as well that you invited me to, which is cool. I got to meet a lot of cool folks and
great,
and a lot of good CISOs, and so people that it's been a while, so we'll have to remind everybody that Michael and I do a sub-series on redefining cybersecurity called the CISO Circuit Series, and we touch on topics that are CISO-driven or CISOs care about, or anything along those lines.
My proudest work.
I'm glad somebody likes it.
Exactly. It just takes an audience of one. That's right. I just watch it over and over again in a loop.
It's a looping in the background.
I work out to it. It's
right.
Great. It's
nice. Well, thank the studio for putting it up on the screen for you.
I'd like to thank the Academy. I'd like to thank the studio.
Nice one.
Yeah.
All right. So before we started recording, listed a bunch of things, some trends, and I don't know. See how many we get going on, but there's one trend. It's not a new trend for me, but I think it's something relatively new that you're working on, and it's the Field CISO. And I mean, I've seen this I don't know how many years back. The Field CISO started to come, and I think every organization has 1 or 10 or 20 now. Cybersecurity companies mostly looking to, I'm thinking, provide advisory-like services to real CISOs. Can I say
that's one way to say it? Yeah.
No, I'm not here to offend anybody except the ones that I'm offending. But no, and I think there's probably value in the role. But I guess I think of solution architects, and I think of system engineers, and I guess I think we also talk a lot about, just in the show and in general, that CISOs need to be connected to the business, so I'm hoping maybe the Field CISOs bring some of that to the organizational CISOs they're working with. So I guess my question is, what the heck really is a Field CISO? Because you're actually placing some folks in these roles now.
We're starting
traditional CISO roles. Right?
Yeah, and it is a great question. Actually, for a while we didn't. Right? For a while we kind of looked at Field CISO going, what is this position? Is it a salesperson? I think the position's evolved. So the Michael of 2022 even would be like, yeah, we're really not entertaining a field CISO, but I think the definition of a field CISO has really changed. I think that the original definition was someone that had cyber program experience. They may not have been a true or sitting CISO at one point, but they were really there to help enable customer engagement, customer enablement from a sales pipeline perspective, and in general, just helping to carry the message and the narrative of that company, whatever, if it was a product service company, if it's a large organization. We've actually seen the role evolve quite a bit, and we're actually running a great search right now reporting to the CEO of the company, and it's really that CEO is making so many presentations to enterprise-grade CISOs. His competition has a number of other companies that have their field CISO team, and they're looking at bringing in a CISO that can communicate the story of their technical sale, fairly technical sale in a fairly competitive environment. And it's really a trusted advisor, someone that can speak CISO. Now the nuance here is that this person usually need to be pretty relevant and recent in their operational history, building a program.
Have a name.
Have a name in the community. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's three things. It's being genuine and understanding the technology, being able to actually go fairly deep if you want to start peeling away the onion, not just the word salad, right? That's one. The second one is having actually built a recent high consequence program where you can point to the data and saying these are the types of products we use, so that they can speak not only about the company's product, but other competitive products too, because they probably tried those out and evaluated those. And the third one is to actually have a voice in the community and to be somewhat of a personality. And that's a fine line, right? Because you don't want a celebrity CISO, you want and you don't want someone that's purely operational, because that pure operational person has a really hard time converting into a customer-facing person, and vice versa. Like, this is not what CISOs do every day. They don't go out and speak to customers naturally. There are some now, and the second evolution of a CISO that I would say that do that. But I think it's come down to kiddingly aside, like, it's come down to two kinds of field CISOs. There's a company that's hiring a field CISO and calling it a CISO, but it's really a field CISO. And there's companies that are hiring a field CISO and it's a field CISO.
Interesting point on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's their first hire of a CISO, a sitting CISO?
Yeah.
So they probably just have a security manager.
They have a GRC or a manager of InfoSec, maybe a director.
Yeah.
But their program is both small and is under control. Unless they're doing something at the government level or some industry that's highly regulated, their own internal group, maybe it's 2 or 3 folks, and maybe IT is also under that, but it's usually small, and it's usually their first C-level hire in the security level.
Right. So of the two types, I guess if it's the first hire for a CISO in a small organization, or one that didn't have the need for a sitting CISO before, you're saying some are hiring for an operational role, and some are hiring for a sales enablement role.
The question we ask is, what percentage of time do they need to be focused on the actual internal build out of the program, hiring the team, building out the products? Everyone always has the problem of the companies are sending me the 100-page questionnaires. Everyone's got that problem.
Right.
So that's not what they're asking these people to do. They have a group that's doing that, or a method of which they can do it, whether it's automated or ML, AI, whatever it may be, or pen and paper, whatever. But usually it's what is the percentage of time you are spending on the operations of the organization and making sure that our company is protected versus talking about the story. And if it's usually if someone says, well, it's 50-50, that actually means it's 80-20. So we know better. And if someone says it's kind of like 70-30, 70% in front of customers, 30% operational, that's probably closer to the truth. Yeah. But it takes a lot of nuance to get these customers, these clients, to sort of define what it looks like. One of the questions I always ask is, so what do you foresee your security program looking like in 18 months? 18 months being a very specific number because it's not too close, but it's not too far out, and it gives a CISO a true chance to build out a program, build the policies and the procedures and the tools that weren't in place in a smaller organization. And if they don't have a pretty cohesive answer, or the answer is, well, we'd like to have X amount of customers signed on or that, then I know that it's not an operational CISO. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, that's the world that we live in, right?
As long as it's transparent and
Yeah.
clear, yeah.
And then the larger organizations, the Googles and Amazons and Microsoft, I just learned about their process through their reorg. It's fascinating. They have kind of an army of customer CISOs that are vertically driven or vertically emphasized, and they will work with the top companies using their products across the world, and they're kind of dedicated to owning those relationships, so that when that CISO of a large enterprise needs to communicate about all the products within the Microsoft orb, the sphere, then they can go to that person first. They can get a no BS answer as to how the product works. They're not dealing with the sales folks, and then that person can then communicate both on product innovation that they need to do, as well as what blend of services. So they really are product experts. I give them a lot of credit for knowing all the products out there, all the competitive products out there. So
I don't know how much experience you have at this point, but
very little.
Okay.
Are you talking about in general, or
in general?
Oh yeah, very little experience.
Right,
yes.
very good.
Yes. So.
No, but for the field CISO roles, it's something we have a balance of as well. And that 99% hopefully of our stuff is editorial-like, or is editorial or educational in nature. And when we clearly say this is a promotional piece, we tag it as such, and we try to still have a conversation that's educational and meaningful, and there's some positive outcome. It happens to be we might be promoting a solution to a problem as well. As a field CISO, I don't know, are there lines like that? Because we've tried to draw a very hard line between this is going to be promotional and everything else. Everything else is editorial. Everything's editorial, and then occasionally we have a promotional piece. I'm just wondering how a field CISO handles that.
It's a great question. Yeah. Probably the question, right?
Right.
I think that the spirit of a field CISO's role is to never sacrifice on the integrity of the messaging. That's the spirit of it. I think some do a better job of others. Some are put in tough situations, but the ones that I've seen that have been highly successful, you walk around these halls, and these are people want to meet with them. They go to them for advice about things that have nothing to do with their company's products or services. They're just seen as an advisor. Yeah. Every once in a while, believe it or not, people actually do that with me. So I know the feeling, hey, I need help on a compensation, or how do I protect myself as a CISO, and nothing to do with their particular search. And if that's a really special place to be, I think. You have to earn it, and you have to keep it. Yeah. And once you cross the line, but I think the spirit of a field CISO is not to be necessarily a salesperson. Very few field CISOs that I know actually have a revenue number attached to them.
I was going to ask
there are a small percentage of field CISOs that we've run across that it's all about the reporting structure. So that's the nuance we look at. Several field CISOs I know are reporting into the chief revenue officer, or at least dotted line into and that doesn't mean that they are now a salesperson. It just means that the activity that they have is primarily sales driven.
Yeah, they hold a number somehow, some way. Yeah.
And that's not a dirty word, right? And I feel like,
as long as it's known, I'm thinking of two. Well, maybe there's three different things: what the company's trying to achieve, what the CISO wants to achieve, and then, of course, what the customers that they're selling to.
They're all trying to create a level of trust. CISO to CISO, organization to organization, product to product. And I just think that I think there's a lot of great people out there that are doing field CISO work. One thing I always warn operational CISOs that want to make that switch is look, that the playground isn't always going to be greener and cleaner. Field CISO is hard work.
Yeah.
And it's a different muscle to flex. And I know a couple of field CISOs that have gone from pure, 15, 20, 25-year operational high consequence CISO roles, and they wanted to try it out because they wanted to be more balanced on the customer enabled side. Wake up one morning 3 months in and go, Michael, this is totally not for me. Can you get me out of, that happens, right?
Different set of stressors. Right?
It's a totally different set of stresses and pressures, and it's not the things that you would think either. Like, the sales guys are really annoying, or they're selling things that I can't sell. It's not that. It's at least I don't hear that very often. It's really like the pressures of being a contributor to the actual. For the last 20 years, they've been a cost structure, and now they're going to be a profit structure. Many CISOs don't have that muscle memory, and it's really difficult for them to assimilate, and I get that. And I give them credit for trying it out. I really do. Yeah. I will say that the warning, though, is it is somewhat tough to cross that line back over.
Because I want to talk about that, too, because as we're talking, and I was joking at the beginning, of course, kind of putting a slam on maybe the title of the role and what it could end up being if it's not managed properly. But I mean, I can think of a few field CISOs that I know and have tremendous respect for. Mm-hmm. And
as can I.
So for me, it starts with the trust, and I know they're going to carry that integrity with them to whatever they do, and whatever role they have.
Right.
So I'll say that. But so do the general public, or I'll say not public, the community of CISOs, how do they look at that role? Because I know there's a lot of...
They tar and feather them pretty much. I'm just kidding.
Because they're very strong bonds of groups of people that come together based on region, based on sector, based on knowledge of... I'm not going to go there, but anyway. Groups of CISOs and security leaders come together and they share stories. And they're very open and honest with each other. Under Chatham House rules where stuff stays there. And a shift to a field CISO kind of somewhat changes that dynamic. So if you're part of the group and you move over, if they trust you, and it's probably not an issue. I'm just wondering, a field CISO that's new to the role and hasn't been, I guess you're pointing at a guy earlier saying they probably had to have a good sitting CISO experience and exposure, but I guess I'll stop rambling. Does the role impact their presence in a community? Have you heard of it?
But it's more subtle than I think people realize. They're not, if you post on LinkedIn that you're now the field CISO of XYZ product security company, there's no ceremony where they cut your CISO card in half in front of you and shred it, and basically send you'll get the same amount of congratulations, pats on the back on that LinkedIn post as you might on anything else. I think there is a little bit of subtlety. I have seen situations where there are certain organizations that are practitioner only, and once that individual moves over, it's interesting. Most of them self-realize that. They're like, I need to bow out. So, and that's where the integrity comes in. I mean, you're talking about a massive community of people that integrity is first. So these are self-governed individuals. They're conflicted sometimes, but they really don't ever cross them. That's what's so impressive about the CISO market. When you have integrity, it usually stays with you. That goes for anyone. But they pretty much self opt out. If that's a word. But I would say for the most part, they're still welcome into the community. If you think about it from a CISO operational perspective, you'd want a mixture of individuals, just like you want a diverse population. You would want individuals coming from different perspectives. Field CISOs have great perspectives on certain things. They see more products than probably anyone. They see more of the competitive stuff, and most of them are not going to sit there and peddle and narrate in the way that they want you to think, right? Might be subtle. So I think that I think we should embrace it. Again, I'm a convert, right? I took for a while, was like, wow, this position is really changing the landscape of CISOs, and I've seen a much different approach to it over the last couple of years, much more thoughtful approach. I will say there's some downfalls, right? There's a couple of really young companies that they will call us and say, we're looking for a CISO, and I'll ask my questions, and they have like 15, 20 people in the company with a seed or a Series A, not even a Series A actually sometimes, and they're like, we're looking for a CISO. And I'm like, you possibly cannot be looking for a CISO. There's no C, there's no O, I don't really know what you're doing, and we have this very spirited discussion, and we explain that we're probably not the right match because I can't bring their narrative to my constituents, because just like them, I'm trusted to bring quality. And then, 48 hours later, I'll see that Field CISO position posted on LinkedIn, and then I get a bunch of calls about it saying, do you know about this one? And I'll say, yeah, I really can't say anything because I also have to hold my integrity. So
I entered this chat a little bit on fire, just because that's how I felt at the moment. But you touched on a few positive points. So let's take the last few minutes here and maybe talk about the positive role of a Field CISO and in the community specifically. You talked about the diversity and seeing a breadth of technologies, a bunch of different environments, having candid conversations about regulations and internal policies, and it might be, I don't know, I can go on and on and on, but I guess the variety of experiences that a Field CISO gets to be part of can bring a lot of knowledge to a community of CISOs that are kind of in their own little lane, right? So.
Yeah, I think one thing that's just naturally assumed by Field CISOs, they're probably great networkers. Right. So that's a positive, which means they're really good at bringing people together. Right. They will always bring a quality level and always maintain that quality level. They certainly don't want to dilute the message of their own message, but others as much. I think that. I think Field CISOs also, I've seen organizations where Field CISOs really do bring in their CISO friends to impact change on the product that needed, maybe it was just a message that was just too crowded in that space. And like, well, maybe, what we really need, Sean, is the thing to do this. And the Field CISO is someone that can really influence their product and engineering teams to actually do that, build that, and prioritize it. Because if you think about it, most of these product security companies, no offense to them, but they are engineering-led organizations that probably haven't listened to much but a handful of companies that were their friends and family,
funded them.
And it was a great idea. It was probably a problem that they were trying to solve when they were in engineering, or it was an offshoot of something that their company built. Nothing wrong with that strategy. But the Field CISO will give a very different perspective of what the market needs and try to translate that back to the organization. So I see that as a value. The ones that are both handling operational risk and the customer enablement piece obviously have to tell a story to their board and how they're protecting risk, and then perhaps tell that story again to the CISO. This is how I do it internally. How do you guys do it? And share stories. So I think there's a ton of value that it adds if the atmosphere, if the sponsorship level is correct. If they really are calling us saying, hey, I could tell right away, and some of my colleagues, I just had a panel with a great group of recruiters, and we were talking about that. Is like when they call, hey, 15 minutes, can we talk? I'm like, okay, that's already, if you're basically discounting the time that you want with me, I already know you're not serious about this. So it means 15 minutes is just the questions I have for you. You can't possibly ask me. And so, and then they get on the phone, and the first thing they ask is, when can we see resumes? Which we don't use resumes. We build storyboards. So I could already tell that they are looking for a salesperson. And but I would say that's the minority. I think the majority of companies are really thoughtful.
So, where was I going to go with this? Because I think I come from a marketing background and from the vendor side, so I recognize and appreciate, and actually I believe that one of the best customer champions in the organization is a sales engineer, system engineer, somebody who's in there. They know all the bits and pieces of the environment and how that technology is going to fit in there and how it's going to impact the team and the workflows and life cycles and all that stuff. I can see how a Field CISO can be that from an operational perspective. And so at the executive level, here's here's how I see your program, here's how changes in strategy will help take you from here to here, here's how new technologies will help you achieve that, here's how we fit into that. I can see a huge benefit to that, and hopefully I've done with integrity as well. The outcome for the customer in that case, the Field CISO's customer, should be a very positive thing, where they're actually getting good, sage, sound advice driven by a community that they're trusted by, that helps the organization achieve its objectives beyond just how do I deploy the right firewall.
Right.
So when you're talking to the candidates for these Field CISO roles, what are some of the things that they want to know in terms of what the hiring organization is looking for?
Right.
In regards to that.
Yeah, I'll give you two answers to that. One is what the candidates want for us to know, or want to know from us as to what the client's looking for, and I'll also give you the opposite, what the client wants, and so we have to anticipate both. For the candidates, if you think about our job in executive search, a lot of people misunderstand what our role is. Our role is not to go get a bunch of pipeline activity so you can hire the right person. It's really, because we call that playing fetch. What really is like our job is to make sure that the very few candidates we introduce to the process, and usually we're responsible for every candidate in the process regardless of their origin. So in the search that I'm talking about, we had at least 2 or 3 people that this company knew that had been well known on their own products, and they said, we've worked great with this person, could you interview them as well, put them into the pipeline. So that's our role. Our role as an executive search firm is to, no matter where the candidate comes from.
Otherwise it's disjointed, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone goes through the same process. We have to make sure from a diversity pool perspective, everyone sees the same exact experience, et cetera. So I'm giving that context because when candidates ask us, regardless of where their origin, how they got involved in the search, usually the things that they're looking for are, one, have they done this before? And have they failed? Have they succeeded? Where's the dead body that did it the last time? Where's it buried? Can I go talk to that person? And then it's really focused around, again, the percentage of breakdown. Some people just innately get it, like they understand that it's going to be a larger proponent on the customer enablement side, sales enablement side. The other piece they want to understand is they want to make sure they can really get behind that product and that service. Right. What is are they really focused on the new part of their product? Are they trying to repair the relationships that they have with former customers? Like, what is my role in this? How stable is the organization? What level of funding am I going to be able to receive from this? Is it just going to be me? Right. Am I going to be able to build a small team regionally? Right? International customers operate very differently from American, companies in what a Field CISO is supposed to do. Right? So you may have a regional in Latin America or Asia Pac or in EU versus the one here in the US. Who actually runs it all? Where do they report to? How does this work? Right? Who does the data analytics? Who does the reporting? Are we relying on marketing to do that, or like who? So a lot of those questions are formulated by these candidates, and all for the right. And if they don't ask them, one, that's a sign for us, but two, we remind them to ask them. Right? This is the time to ask them. They also ask a lot about compensation and location. Right? A lot of the fields. One of the nice things about Field CISOs is they're typically remote. Right, because they're it's in the name. That's what it's called, field. Otherwise, it would be called home. I guess home CISO, right? I don't know what the opposite of field is, but the compensation piece is big, right? Is it sales centered? Is it base?
Is that a drive usually for the switch?
No one really is driving towards wanting commission in the CISO community. Is that what you're?
No, just generally, compensation is. The difference between a sitting CISO salary and a vendor Field CISO salary, forget the commission-driven piece. Is there a higher number in the Field CISO that's driving?
Very different. The primary CISO or operational CISO typically is higher paid.
Higher paid. Okay.
Yeah, where our searches are all over $1 million in total comp. Whereas a field CISO most often doesn't eclipse that, I would say. Sometimes it does, but not often. Okay. On the other side, though, what the client is looking for from the field CISO is it's example after example of customer engagement levels. Where were they involved in the customer engagement? Where were they involved in this program? Walk us. So we just sit there and have the candidate do storytelling for several minutes during our interviews. Our interviews are about 90 minutes, and so we meet with them multiple times to get perspectives, and then we also back channel them and make sure were they involved in this. Every CISO, by the way, I'll say that to the camera, every CISO is going to get back channeled, just so you know, every CISO. It's a foregone conclusion now. And so that's one thing that they'll want to know is what is the engagement level that they were directly involved in? What were they orchestrating? What did they build? What did they not build? Those type of things. They really, again, our job is to let them know exactly who we think the candidate is. So,
I love it. Well, this is super enlightening. Obviously, I came in with a certain view. And
I turned you.
You converted me. You converted me. No, I think it's very similar, like I said, to a role that I have tremendous respect for and value. I think there's a huge role for sales enablement in a way that drives an outcome for the target organization. So super cool. Well, Michael, it's always good to see you, my friend.
It's great to see you.
Great
I
fun
love
chatting. It's time to stare again. See you, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
CISO Circuit Series.
Travel safe.
Brightiv's cloud privileged access management platform modernizes, centralizes, and simplifies privileged access management across cloud, hybrid, and on-premises environments. The Brightiv patented cloud-native technology empowers security, cloud operations, and development teams. Learn more about the Brightiv CPAM platform at brightiv.com. Coro, the leading cybersecurity platform purpose-built for small and medium-sized enterprises, protects against malware, ransomware, phishing, data leakage, network threats, insider threats, and email threats across devices, users, networks, and cloud applications. Learn more at coro.net. At Level Blue, we simplify securing your most valuable business assets by providing broad cybersecurity experience and award-winning services. Level Blue manages the risk. You reap the reward. Learn more at levelblue.com.